What a beautiful afternoon was making that summer. You could feel the joy in the air, and people were happy and excited, because that day was very important for the Major's family. His oldest daughter was about to marry a man of whom I didn't have much reference. I didn't know him, but I wasn't at all that interested in the subject, since we all have too much in our hands to be paying attention to somebody else's business. I really couldn't care less, except for the banquet. That's all that mattered to me. I know that's rude of me to say, but it's not every day that you get to see or eat the stuff you can't find in store shelves. That's why I wanted to rejoice in all the taste from that feast before coming back to the real world, to see how those vultures in uniforms and dressed as politicians took what we needed. It was a lovely night, with the moon so bright you didn't need lamps or candles to keep the roads alight. I went to my house and put on my best clothes, my new shoes, my hat, and I bathed on cologne. All this in order to get lucky that night and charm a lady, since loneliness was already affecting me. When I arrived at the party, to my surprise, I saw I wasn't the only one who had come for the feast. Most town people were there, and as I said before, not precisely for the wedding. I turned my head right and saw the Major's family and his son-in-laws as well. They laughed and celebrated the couple's union with champagne. I can't deny that Clara, the bride, looked gorgeous. Eyes as blue as the ocean, golden hair, and skin as white and delicate as sea mist. I was perplexed in her beauty, but the cattle was already branded with marriage. That's what I thought, vulgar as it is. Anyway, long story short, I had a great time. At this point, I talked to the Major and politely asked him where the bathroom was, since I had had a lot to drink, to which he, with a politician's smile, said, "You can go behind the house. You're a man. You can water the flowers where you like. The bathroom is especially reserved for women." He patted my shoulder and left, and so did I, upset, but also thinking that what he said was true to some extent. If I hadn't seen that the ones with the right to go in there were the ladies from his and his son-in-law's families. I was desperate to find a place to relieve myself, when suddenly 4 tall white men came out of the dark, wearing hats and espadrilles, each with a knife hanging from their waists. With them was a young boy. He was maybe 12. I could hear him asking them, "What are we doing here?" One of them crouched and replied, "We're going to surprise the groom." He formed a not-so-friendly smile. I hid to spy on the strangers, and I saw them drawing their knives out and opening the back door, the fierce wind putting out all the candles. One of the men said with an authoritarian voice, "Nobody messes with family." With the darkness on their side, the man stamped inside, and immediately, desperate cries from men, women, and children asking for help could be heard. They couldn't get out. All the doors were locked from the outside. You could hear the steel cutting flesh. I was in shock. I couldn't move, hearing all the screams and pleadings coming from the house. I snapped out of it and ran to the front gate, but it was useless. I tried everything, but the locks were strong. I felt helpless as I heard the people trying to open the door on the other side. I told them I would get help. I ran to the police station as fast as I could. I spoke to 3 police officers and told them what was happening. They, armed only with batons, followed me to the house where the wedding and feast were held. When they got there, though, it was already too late. There weren't any screams or cries for help. With uncertainty, we got inside the house cautiously. We didn't know if the men were still there. One of the officers lit up a candle, and we saw with horror the unfortunate massacre that didn't let us sleep for many nights. Men with slit throats, torn limbs, little angels dead next to their mothers' corpses. The entire scene was a sea of blood and mutilated bodies. At the center, I saw the bride with her reddened dress, blood running all over her body next to her father. Hanging above them was the groom, with a knife plunged on his chest and a paper hanging from it that read, Nobody messes with family. Still in shock from the scene, one of the officers screamed, "We have a survivor here!" I ran to see who the lucky person was, and to my surprise, it was that kid that was with those men. He was shaking under a table with a knife in his hands, covered in blood. I started wondering if I should blame the kid for what I had seen earlier, but my just pride was bigger, and I explained the officers what I had seen. They took the kid from under the table, and as they were taking him with them, I asked him, "Why did you do it?" With a trembling voice and tears falling down his face, he replied, "I don't know. I just knew I was coming to a party my brothers invited me to, and I was really excited because I had never gone to one before. I never expected this to happen." To that I asked, "Why didn't you go with them?" He saw me again with a depressed look and replied, "They abandoned me here." But the officers didn't believe him, and they took him anyways. The next morning, the news had spread everywhere in town, and people would go and pray for the souls of the fallen that night. For my part, I would look from afar as they retrieved the bodies and how the kid was humiliated. Poor kid. In my opinion, he was victim of man's evil nature and the darkness that lies deep inside humans' hearts. Many years have passed. I have a family, a woman who loves me, beautiful kids, and a God that looks after me. Everything I've dreamed of, yet at night, when I sit next to the window, I look at that house and all the memories from that night come back. The night when those men brought disgrace to this town, when those men decided to unsheath the knives of vengeance. Nobody messes with family.